All right, so tonight we're going to talk about passion and why it's often easier to look at what you're passionate about. And often this comes down to what we were passionate about in childhood. Because if we can figure out what we're passionate about, then we can apply it to benefiting the lives of others, and then it becomes more powerful because then it has purpose behind it. So there's definitely things that everybody can relate back to childhood, things that they've absolutely loved in the past, and things that you've really felt drawn to, and they just feel easy. And in the previous video, we talked about when you're initially passionate about something, it's really easy, it's fun, and oftentimes you repeat it, and it becomes more powerful for you. But that doesn't mean that what you're passionate about has to come with no challenges. There's definitely going to be times that even if you're passionate about something, then it can become challenging as you develop more of the expertise. So what we want to do, if we're thinking right now that we don't know what we're passionate about, or there's things that we're looking to find our purpose and we just don't know what it is, we want to go back and look at what we were passionate about from childhood, because oftentimes what we're passionate about from childhood can extend into our adulthood, but we're told that it either doesn't have value, or our parents might have said, no, you shouldn't do that, try something else. And really, if we can look at what our childhood passions and pleasures were, we can bring this into our adult life. So the first thing that we want to look at is any of those old inspirations that have either continued or things that might have changed. So the very first question was, when I was a child, what did I want to do when you grow up? So think back to your childhood. For me, I always wanted to be a mom. And oftentimes this was kind of not shut down, but explained to me like, that's not going to bring you an income. You also need to be able to financially provide for yourself. So for the last couple of years, when I was discovering more of my purpose, it was like this inner battle, right? Because I really wanted to be a mom and stay at home with my kids. But I also really loved what I do as a naturopath, and I love being able to help people that way too. So it was this inner conflict. But what I was able to find is that there are aspects of my business right now that I can change so I can do both. So if there's an inner battle that some people will experience, that I really love to do sports, right? You're so, not you, but just someone in general. I really love to do sports, but that's not the career field that I'm in. And instead of having this battle, there might be some ways that we can merge those two. So the way I merge being able to help people and still, spend time with my kids is a lot of my practice I do like this virtually. So it allows me the flexibility to do both. What did you want to do when you first grew up? Or when you were a kid?
So I apparently, when my mom asked me when I was 3, or my uncle, sorry, I said I wanted to be rich. That was my answer, which is not a really great answer. But no, what was always important to me is I loved being social, and I loved having a group around me, and I got empowered by it. So like even now, the career I'm in, I'm able to create social environments, which make my job not really a job, but something I really enjoy doing. Like most of my clients are my friends, or they turn into my friends. The events that I host turn out to be events that I want to go to. I was able to bring a passion. I've always wanted to be social in like a social setting and actually apply it to my career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. But you could also see that, like, if you didn't realize that your passion was being around other people.
Well,
you can bring that into so many different.
You can bring it into and I had one job where I was an inside sales rep, and I hated my life because I was just sitting there on the phone all day long, like speaking to people sort of on the phone, but no real community, no real interaction. But yeah, like what I'm doing now, I love health and everything else that I'm in, but it's the community field that really gets me. So you can apply that to anything. So if I wasn't in this field, I could still have that community environment in any other careers.
Be creative with what you're doing. Yeah. Does anyone want to share in the chat or unmute themselves of something that they were really passionate about as a child, and either that has now transitioned into their career choice, or maybe it hasn't, and that's completely okay too. Some of the things that you were passionate about and do when you're a child is a growing opportunity to say, I've completely changed, and now I'm really happy with the other various choices that I've chosen. You can chat in the comments too. Just let us know, when I was a child, what was one thing that you wanted to be, or what was something that you wanted to do when you grew up? And then we're looking at in the past, as a child, I enjoyed. And you can write down everything what you enjoyed as a child. So you can think of food, activities, places that you really like, maybe it was travel, and list what you liked and why you liked it. Okay. Hey, Crescent, thanks for joining. We're on the very first worksheet, didn't miss very much at all. We're talking about how we can identify some of the things that we were passionate about as children and really reignite those passions to see if it's something that we can continue in our adulthood. Because oftentimes, you know, the things that you were really passionate about as a child might have been dismissed or said, you know, that's not important, you can't do that. But if we can look back at ways to reignite those passions and ways that we can incorporate them into our daily lives of adults, that can really help spark what our passion is. And then when we use our passion to help the betterment of others and humanity, then that turns into a purpose. So first question, when I was a child, I wanted to do this when I grew up. And the second question is, in the past, what did you enjoy? Whether it was a food, an activity, places, traditions, list what you liked and why you liked it.
Even your favorite stories can tell you stuff.
Example?
Well, I loved comic books, so it was always like growing bigger than what was out here. So if there's a certain story that you really resonated with as a kid, like we all had our favorite story, that often can tell us about things that we enjoyed as a child. Because sometimes it's hard to remember all the way back. So picking up on a couple things like Land Before Time was my favorite movie. And again, getting back to building community, my favorite part is when they got to the new land and sort of built a whole family around it. So you can think back to like what you liked about those things as a child.
And for you, if your main passion is building community and being surrounded by others and socializing, and you know that, then you can incorporate it into other things that you do.
Yes.
Like you would know that trying out something that didn't involve other people might not be the best choice.
No.
Whereas might be a better choice for me.
Yes. Yeah. But also, and you know, even outside of work, like with everything going on now, just to share something like about community, like me and my friends every Saturday are having a coffee on Zoom, just because I know it brings joy there and then sort of spreads joy throughout the day. So it doesn't always just have to be about work, but I think it's about all aspects of your life.
Yeah. And some of the things that I enjoyed from my childhood, which I've now gotten back to really incorporating in my overall life, is I actually loved going on family vacations. And for a while there, I really didn't like traveling.
Yeah, why that is?
Well, because it was this inner conflict of, I felt, going back to the previous worksheet that we did on roles, I felt that the role of the mom was to stay in the house and be in the house, right? And cook and clean and work and then come home and have your kids organized and do the laundry. And I was battling with that role because my passion was, like, I actually really liked traveling, but I felt like traveling didn't fit that role that I had defined for what it meant and what like being a mom looked like. And then when I kind of looked at, okay, where did I develop that role? Who taught that to me? And where did I learn that? I was able to recognize that I can define whatever role I want for what that looks like. And even growing up, you might define the role of, I'm just going to use the example of a mom is someone who spends majority of the time with their kids. They stay at home. And then I had that really big battle with, okay, my passion is helping other people. And I love what I do as a naturopath, but involves time away from my kids. So that was like an inner battle with the role of a mom should stay at home and be in the home with her kids. So it's all about looking at the definitions that you put on roles and how you can choose to change those definitions and change the expectations so that it's in line with what you want to do and what you want to project. And then you can fit your passions in there. And if you can use your passion with a purpose so it benefits the lives of others, then it can really, it's fun. It doesn't feel like work.
No, it doesn't. No, yeah. And then has anyone here ever like gone into something at work and it just, you have all of a sudden a huge boundless amount of energy and you can't stop, and like it does, you don't want the workday to end? Does that happen to anybody here? You can even just raise a hand, I guess. Well, Nancy's the only one on camera, but
yeah.
Like, so, you know, that, like, for me, I just saying, I love building communities. I'm building a summit now, and Brianne has seen it where it's like 15, probably even 20-hour days at times. I'm barely sleeping, putting all this work into this summit, but it doesn't feel like work because it resonates with that passion that's been with me forever.
And this also comes into play that you've been really good at continuing to do things outside of work in your career that brings you joy. I find, I'm not just saying like men do what they like and women don't.
Okay.
But a lot of the females that I see in my practice, when I say like, what brings you joy? What hobbies do you have? They just have no idea. They're like, I just go through my day and I serve other people, and I actually don't know what I like at all. I don't have a hobby. I don't know what brings me joy. So going back to childhood to see what used to bring you joy in childhood, and then it drags right into the next question of what current activities do you do that bring you pleasure and bring you joy. So if you are not doing anything right now that is fun, or it's not a hobby for you, this is the point of looking back to childhood to decide, okay, what used to bring me joy? What did I used to like to learn about? What was I passionate about at one point in time? And how do we draw that back into your lives right now? Because you get in this perpetual pattern of, okay, I wake up, I do my job, I come home, make dinner, watch Netflix, go to bed. And then it's like you're on this rabbit wheel, and it's like the week has passed and I didn't do anything that I actually liked. Which sounds awful, but I see a lot of people doing this.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to activities and pleasure, like it can be things like I love cooking. That's a way to be creative. I love taking baths. That's an activity. It makes me relax and unwind. So think about different things other than just like, oh, like Pilates is an activity. Like that is an activity, but I mean, it can be many different aspects of your life.
Yeah. So if you guys want to share some of the things that maybe you currently do that you really like, or maybe some things that you used to like to do in the past and you've fallen out of, and maybe it's time now, maybe you have more time now that you can do them. If it's like me and travel, it's not happening. It's not happening.
You got Google Earth.
I can plan trips. That's all I can do right now.
Go back in time.
And then that leads into the next one, the activities I know I love that I may not currently be doing. So what are some things that you love and you're currently doing, and what are some things that you love and you're not currently doing? What are things that I like? What were some things that I used to like and now I'm not doing that I could put
You're
back
not
in?
working out as much as you used to?
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, okay. Well,
I could try. I have a balance with exercise.
You either go all in or...
Well, if I'm feeling good and it's bringing me joy and it's boosting my energy, then I'm doing it. If I'm, it's a little bit more stressful with staying in the house and uncertainty with business, with that stress, not sleeping as much, I'm not putting it in. But maybe I did used to really like that. But it doesn't have to be exercise. It could be anything that gets your heart rate up and gets those endorphins moving. So sauna, I have a sauna. I can easily do that one. That would be something to consider doing each day. Anything you used to like doing and now aren't doing?
I used to love
basketball.
Well, yes, that basketball, and I used to love competing in martial arts, but both of those have been taken away, at least recently.
But we can also reframe that and think of ways that you could still do that. Like I'm sure there's YouTube videos.
Yeah, I can watch other people do martial arts, but no, like
child show Kung Fu Panda. You could just watch that.
I could watch Kung Fu Panda or Karate Kid.
Yeah.
But no, like right now, I used to play basketball with me and my friends every week, and we haven't been able to do that. So again, that's switching it with like what I like about basketball, playing it, but also connecting with friends. So that weekly coffee thing on Zoom is sort of what I switched it with. But
or you could still go down to the park with the kids and do basketball. You're not allowed to go to the park just down the street?
No.
Even if it's just you?
Okay. Do you guys know if you're allowed to right now?
Well, you can. That's kind of.
I don't think actually. The only reason I know that. Oh, did it work?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because my brother's friend, his dad's a cop, and I guess he was driving by and these kids were at the park, and they didn't want to leave, and they were giving him kind of slack, so he had to actually find them.
Yeah.
Okay, so, no parks here.
So,
well, you can go out on the driveway.
No, we got a basketball net.
Yeah. You could go out on our own property and play basketball.
And then what I do is I make player 1 and player 2 who's me. So it seems like it's a community, and I just play against myself.
There you
go. But Line was is Line your name, or is that?
I don't know.
Oh,
anyway,
playing volleyball is something I like that I'm not doing now.
And this is the really hard part, right? Like, it's really hard to go through something that's stressful and not have your community. Oftentimes we lean on our communities during times of stress. And right now it's like, be inside of your house, which is often hard. So any way that we can incorporate more of that movement, you know, exactly what you said, like what were the aspects of volleyball that you really enjoyed, whether it was being surrounded by your friends, strategy, like can you get with those same friends and
okay, cool.
And at least connect with them, right? Or even something as simple as having a group chat, sharing funny memes is a way to build community.
Yeah, so Lime, what did you enjoy most about volleyball?
And that's like,
if you don't mind, if you're okay with sharing.
Because those are, you know, those are definitely, like you said, those are things that we can start to incorporate. And like for me, exercising, it was a lot of like, oh, I have my own space, I have my own time, this is something for me, no one's around me, no one's bothering me. So the exact opposite of you, but I can easily recreate that, either at home doing a home workout or just having some alone time, whether it's like a bath or in the sauna or something like that.
Being with people and having fun.
Yeah. So something like if even having a Zoom meeting with everybody, the kids had a birthday party for their friends on Zoom, and it's not the same. Sucks right now, but it kind of is what it is. The more we can build community in a virtual way, we are pretty lucky to have technology. If this happened years ago, it would be a lot worse. Yeah. And then leading into a couple of the extra questions, other aspects of life that bring me joy, excitement, and energize me are, so this is looking at what energizes me is the exact opposite of what energizes you. Like I like my alone time, right?
Yeah.
My own space, which would be, you like the community aspect. So I know that if I'm going to go out into a large group with a lot of social interactions, that's not what's going to energize me. I still do it because it's important. But knowing your differences allows you to do more of those things that bring you joy versus kind of drain you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in my life, I've been passionate about. So I've always been passionate about health and wellness and fitness and motivation and inspiring others. And I truly believe that when we feel our best, we can make the most difference in the world. So that's what I'm passionate about, and lucky that I have a career that aligns with that.
I've always loved educating or learning and educating. That's always been fun for me. I like when I first got Google, like I would spend hours and hours just reading random facts and spreading random facts. So being in an industry like health, where I love learning about health, and like you, I think it's the cornerstone to everything. It's fun to learn about it, implement the stuff in my own life and share it as well.
Yeah, I love that learning aspect too. And if you guys like to learn and there's different course topics that you want to learn about, Udemy is one, UDEMY. They've got tons of courses, everything from Excel, you can do relationship courses, you could do, what else is on there? And some of the, like they have sales. So how to grow social media, how to be a photographer. They have tons of sales on right now. It's like courses anywhere from $7 to $200.
I learned how to do Excel in like one day. I had no idea how to use it. With one day I was an intermediate level person for $17.
$17. And then after those questions, we want to look at childhood, adult passions and interests are powerful sources of inspiration, which we talked about. And if we can go back to what we were passionate about as a child and reignite those passions, because if someone else has influenced you to say that what you were passionate about as a child was not purposeful, or it wasn't.
Well, a lot of things they get discounted because, you know, if we look at each generation had its own thing. So, you know, I'm 33, and my parents' generation, let's say when they were growing up, everything was about having a stable job and a stable income. Like, so entrepreneurial ventures weren't as like, they weren't really imprinted into them because, you know, their parents were in the war, and what were the values is you need to have a safe, stable income, save for retirement. And some of that got passed on to me, where it was like, yeah, you make your money and then you have your fun outside of your job. Where now I think our generation is sort of experiencing like you can merge both of them, which is why this is so important. That your passion and career should be overlapping. It shouldn't just be for safe, unless your passion is safety and security. Like you shouldn't just be working for a paycheck. Which I don't know about you guys, but I think that was a common thing growing up. It's like, take the safe route, what's going to be the stable job with the retirement, pension, and sort of those were the things to focus on.
Yeah. And then the next part is all looking at your gifts and what you have to offer. So looking at what your best qualities are. You can just circle the ones that are there, or if there's some that resonate with you more, write those ones down. And identifying your best qualities, you want to be able to use those in a way that can help you connect with other people, help you fulfill your passion and purpose to a higher degree. So if you are someone who is very humorous, then find ways that you can use your humor to ignite your passion.
Yeah, and this is important because we all have a zone of genius, which I don't think when you're growing up and you're put into this one school system, it's a very particular person who's seen as successful and gets A+. But all of us have our own zone of genius, and finding out what our skills are, we can find that zone of genius, match it with our passion, and really get a lot out of life.
Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid, like if you know deep down that humor is one of your best qualities, but you've been told to stay in this box of, humor doesn't belong here. And you go into certain situations where it almost feels like you're not being your true authentic self, or you are almost feeling like you're kind of walking on eggshells, or you're trying to act in a certain way to please others. I find the more you can just honor what your true greatest gifts are and your true qualities and act in that way, versus trying to behave in a certain way that you feel other people will be most comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, I don't like doing work I'm not good at. So if I can find someone else and pair with them, and like, I'm really good at certain things, and then someone who enjoys as organization there.
Organization, no.
No, okay.
They must have made it for you. That wasn't even an option.
Really? Okay, good. So I guess this paragraph's just for me. I am gentle, optimistic, knowledgeable, supportive, and inspiring.
Yeah, and when you can, like it says here, when you can find your talent where you can fully express yourself and be your 100% true authentic self, and not feel that you're dimming any aspects of who you are to fit other people, that's really a great way to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't realize the energy that's wasted trying to conform to something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's big.
You have to love what you do. You spend 8 hours a day of your days working. I always strive for that. When I wasn't happy, I looked for something else. Yeah, exactly. Like I think we're finally not accepting the idea of like dreading to go to work. And what was that song? I live for working for the weekend. Do you remember that song? No, you're too young.
No.
But yeah, I think it's to have a life where you're just working for the weekend isn't as fulfilling as if you actually enjoy. I think one of the greatest joys is when you actually forget that feeling of a Monday coming. And
well,
or it's a different feeling.
Now it's like, what day is it?
Yeah, it's Thursday. But
what month are we?
Is it Thursday? Yeah, April, May. But yeah, when there's two, I sort of felt like I hit a passion in my life, in my work career, at least when Fridays weren't circled. Like I wasn't looking forward to Fridays anymore, and I wasn't dreading the Mondays anymore. And when that started happening, joy sort of increased in all aspects of my life, because as Line mentioned, it's 8 hours or 9 hours a day you're spending in a career. You don't want to be dreading it every hour you're there.
And this goes on, like, it's a really great transition into the next page 9 on dreams. Is if you have an idea of what your dream is and what you truly want, you have to know what that is in order to make choices in your daily life to move you towards that dream. So April 2nd, yeah. So I knew that part of my passion and changing the rules of what I defined as being a mom is, like I said, I really wanted to be able to travel, but still work and still help people with what I was passionate about. So whenever I'm looking at what my long-term dream is, it's always about freedom. It's always about being able to work from anywhere in the world, more or less, right? Like I do have an in-person practice in Guelph, but I've been able to expand my business around North America and connect with people around the world, which is really cool. But that was my long-term dream. So anytime that I was looking at opportunities in my daily life, I would always reflect back to what my long-term dream was, because if it wasn't in a line, if it wasn't moving me towards, no matter how fun or exciting it seemed to be, that wasn't what I was going to choose. But if you don't know where you want to go, you can't make those small choices each and every day to get you there. An example was there was a really amazing business opportunity where I could set up a big clinic, and there could be IVs and saunas, and it, like, facials and microneedling machines. It would be amazing and fun, but that doesn't necessarily move me towards my long-term dream of being able to help anyone from anywhere around the world. It really helps me help people in my community. But knowing what your dream, your long-term plan is helpful. So the question is, if I could have anything I wanted, what would it be? And if I could do anything I want, what would it be? And really not only thinking about if you could do anything that you wanted, but also what does that look like? So I really wanted to be a doctor utilizing evidence-based medicine, but also I just feel food and lifestyle and your mindset and your sleep, those foundational aspects are so key and much more important than using a Band-Aid approach. So I wanted to be a doctor that really got to the root cause of the health issues, but I also wanted to be able to travel. So made that work.
And what's really important when you're writing down your dreams, especially when it's, if I could do anything I want, what would it be? If a little voice pops in your head that, oh, no, don't write that down. It's just too crazy. It's too big. Just ignore that. Because this is to actually find out, like it's a dream where anything can happen. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us will sabotage that because we think those voices from, our childhood, or what we were talking about last week, like the roles you think you have to play might manipulate you to think that can't happen. But this is really meant to write down what are your dreams, and like if anything was possible, you had a golden pen you could write into existence, that put those down as your dreams.
Or if something comes up like, oh, that doesn't exist, or that's too much work, that's even more of a reason to put it down, because often the things that your cognizant brain is kind of pushing you back from are things that you are really meant to drive down.
Yeah, and then you'd be shocked sometimes you write them and they come true.
You're right, totally.
Like today, like just because she saw how excited I was, I've always like, I've been wanting to meet this one NBA coach forever. And today in my summit, I actually got to sit with him for like 25 minutes, which writing that down, it would have been ridiculous. Like, who am I, a guy in Guelph, to think I'm going to talk to a coach all the way across in the United States? But you write it down and you'd be surprised what actually does happen. And
as well, even for me, for doing more speaking engagements, I do not like public speaking like at all. Like it's a really uncomfortable situation for me, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to share my message with other doctors and do more public speaking. But for some reason, it was like my dream and what I really wanted also made me the most uncomfortable. And I had to step out of my own way and go for it to really expand. And it was good. Yeah. Moving on to your values. So we really want to know, what are your core values and what do you stand for? Because these values can unleash your passion. So if you can think big, what would be something in this world that you would like to change? And for me right now, given the current situation, I'm really passionate about optimizing everybody's overall health and reducing their comorbidities. In terms of coronavirus and COVID, we know that the most negative health outcomes due to this virus is primarily in those who have comorbidities of diabetes and high blood pressure. And these are lifestyle related diseases, at least type 2 diabetes, that we can absolutely, if we were to invest in health and we were to teach people how to eat properly, how to live their life on purpose, how to be happy, how to have community, how to sleep, how to do meditation, we could really prevent. It's not just about flattening the curve that is important, but it's also preventing deaths in those individuals with the comorbidities. So that is what I would like to see changed in the world: food quality, teaching people what true health is, building a sense of community and helping those who really need it. The fact that we're not taught what a proper nutrition looks like. We're not taught that it's okay to be happy, and we should be happy each and every day. We're not taught how to sleep and how to take breaks and how to feel our emotions, right? Like most people feel anxiety, but they're not really sure even how to communicate that.
Which is what I would like to change.
Communication?
Yeah, I think, I would like people to be able to communicate more freely and openly and
without feeling.
I feel there's a big disconnect, not to get too hippie, but from, someone's heart to what actually comes out. So the ability to get people to actually speak what they want to speak. And I think that would fix, if people were connected to themselves and could actually speak what was important, I think everyone would be more connected.
Oh, that's good.
Which in turn, also you would then treat yourself better. Health would be more important. I think it's all
connected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely, I have them. I have filters. I'm constantly evaluating what I'm thinking before you say it. I think that's just like a natural thing that we're taught to do. And the more we can speak our truth and honor the true feelings that we have and better communicate, the better it will be. It's a hard lesson that I've had to learn, but it's definitely one that's really, really important. So if anyone has any thoughts on what they would like to change in the world,
feel free to share.
Yeah, type them in the comments or unmute yourself.
You can start with us. There's 7 of us here, so that's a good way.
Start big too. Like, I want to change. Like, I think we can absolutely live in a world where there's no high blood pressure and no type 2 diabetes. No, seriously.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And
And
go off that point to improve the world's collective consciousness through music and lyrics. I agree.
nice.
What music should we listen to? Do you have anything in here you could post that would help us?
Nancy makes her own music.
Do you have any of your music you could share?
It's in the works. It'll be I'll be releasing hopefully soon, couple months.
Do you like recording a certain frequency?
In a certain frequency, like what do you mean
like
exactly?
everyone's like about 432 hertz or whatever is like a better. I'm not a musician.
Oh.
What is that
I
called?
don't know
Like,
what he's talking about.
no, but a lot of people are like, oh, my friend does sound bowl healing, and he's like, 432 is like the best hertz to record it. I don't know. Apparently, it's the most.
No, because that's true. Like, certain frequencies we hear better in human hearing, and so there's certain frequencies that we gravitate to. So I know what you meant. Don't worry.
Okay.
But yeah, just yeah, I just thought through like music and lyrics and like creativity and kind of opening up people's consciousness in that sense, and just kind of bringing the world together, like you were talking about before. Yeah.
Well,
Alan Watts would actually talk about that all the time. He said music was the gateway to the present moment. You can't, like, when you're in the middle of a song, there's no beginning or no end.
yeah, cool. Yeah, so if you can use what your gifts are, what your talents are, what your passions are, and then pair them with what your core values are, and then share them with the world to make the world a better place, that's where you really start to really enjoy what you're doing, because you can see the higher purpose and passion of it.
Yeah, like Lion was saying, I agree, investing in healthcare and maybe incorporating physical activity within the workforce.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, there's definitely, I've seen some big improvements in that in companies like Expedia and Google, and a lot of the bigger corporations are starting to have more. I'm wondering if people
and overuse of pharmaceutical meds in women mainly. Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah,
I find often this comes back to speaking your truth and honoring how you're truly feeling and using your voice. I find a lot of the times women have a harder time doing that, advocating for how they're truly feeling, especially in medicine. If you are in your deep down in your gut feeling like something is absolutely wrong and this is not how you used to feel, and everyone's telling you, oh, you're normal, your labs are normal, and you really feel like you're not being heard, and then continuing to use your voice and seeking help and finding someone who will listen to you to really advocate that. If you truly feel like something's wrong, we need to get to the root cause of it, because you don't have to feel that way. Yeah. Okay. Your commitment. How can I live in integrity? The aspects of my life I am committed to. What are aspects of your life you're committed to? Oh, can I start? Because you're going to steal mine if I don't start.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so it comes back down to communication and fostering a deep, meaningful connection, and honoring your truth and how you're feeling and communicating, because deep, meaningful connections are better. They're more fun. They're not a surface level.
They can be more fun, yeah. No, they're yes. And on that one, like something, to tie into that, like similar thing, I made a commitment that anytime, let's say, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, like if you want to say something that's important and then you almost first get the reaction, like just run away and get out of that situation. I force myself to confront it and actually speak it rather than get out. As uncomfortable as it can be in any situation in life.
I'm a big Libra, so I don't like confrontation. I don't like
Libra.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm out. But that doesn't work out from what I've realized. And you can look at your cycles, like what are things that are continually happening to me over and over again, and really take ownership of your part in those cycles. And once you change your thoughts and your emotions and your behavior, then we can break that cycle. And one of mine, it's definitely had to be in communication.
Would anyone else like to share what's important to them?
And now I communicate by taking pictures of things that I don't like and sending
It's a great
them.
way to communicate, actually. Takes the tonality out of it.
Yeah, there's no anger there. It's just a picture.
The next, values, dreams, gifts, and passions I'm committed to fulfilling in my life.
And what would it take for me to live in integrity? So honoring what your passions and interests are,
And your values,
and what you stand for, and what your overall dream is. And it doesn't have to be major shifts, right? Like if you're stuck in a situation or a career or a role that you don't necessarily like, you can make the choice to perceive it in a different way and just take those small little action steps each and every day to get towards your bigger dream. I mean, your dream could be to have a $5 million house and a whole bunch of fancy cars. You're not going to just manifest that tomorrow, but you can still find things in your daily life today that align with your passion and values that you can get excited for and enjoy. The model car?
Like
the small cars. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that? Talents.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about that last section?
And this is very similar, moving from your passions and your interests to what your talents or skills are. So you can be passionate and interested in something, but you don't necessarily need to have that amazing, you don't have to be good at it. It develops over time. So making sure to realize that if you're really passionate about something, but you're not great at it right now, it takes time and it takes repetition. It doesn't have to come second nature. It doesn't have to be easy. It often is not easy. And you just have to stick with it and continuing to move forward with that. Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing they're saying here even is sometimes we have a talent or skill that we fail to notice because it seems so normal to us. So there's two ends to it, where you could be passionate about something and it could be a struggle. Like, I don't know, Nancy, when you started playing music, if it was easy or hard for you, but you know, I've had some friends who like, they just really love the guitar and it just took them 5 years to learn how to play it. But then there's other people where they don't realize that they have a skill or talent because it's so second nature to them. They're like, can't everyone just do this? So an example of me is like, I could talk to that brick wall, or I guess drywall wall, for hours, and I just thought everyone can talk to everybody. And then I found out later in life it was actually a skill that I didn't have any, it was hard to embarrass me, so I could just talk or make me feel uncomfortable. So it was easy to talk to anyone, which in a job when it comes to sales and building community is very fitting. I don't get that fear to go on stage. I don't get that fear to speak to somebody. So that could be anything in your life where you just, something that's so easy to you is also, it's a talent, but sometimes you don't think it is because, again, it's second nature your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So can you guys think of anything in that realm where it was a talent that's natural for you, or an ability that's natural that you just thought everyone had, but realized later that it's more unique to you?
I think creating content and like,
you were a Jedi at that. It's nice.
Yeah, I was like, can't everybody just create this stuff and send it out? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yes.
Yeah, but communicating definitely is one that you're really good at.
Detail oriented. Yep. So for me,
organizing.
So I need people like you in my life. I'm terrible at all that stuff. Where it's very difficult for me. I'm really bad at organizing. Allison, what about you?
Allison's really good at organizing, and she's amazing.
Is that Allison?
I think it is Allison. Yeah, she's amazing at time zones. She's amazing at motivating, calendars, tabbing things, color coding things.
Yep.
Amongst like, that's what she's really good at in my business, amongst other things in her daily life too.
So to go on to the next part, so if your talent, let's say, is organizing, when would you shine? Or if your talent is being detail oriented, when would you shine? So an example for me, my talent is I can speak to anybody, so I shine if I get put into an environment where no one knows each other. So that's something for me. Or I make friends very easily. So think about, like, okay, if you're detail oriented, where could you shine? Maybe you'd be a really great accountant if you like being an accountant, but it's something to think about.
Yeah. And this is the same questions essentially. What skills do you have that are make you unique? And even this one's really good, thinking about what others tell you you're good at. So you can even ask people around you. Because again, something that's second nature that you might not realize that you're good at, other people will be like, yeah, you're really good at that. Meetings and leadership.
I'd rather be,
chaos.
I don't like public speaking. I'd rather be in the background and make everyone look good. Okay. That's a good thing. And you know what? So the other thing you can do too is we all have 5 to 10 close friends or family members we can call. And this is where it's easy for me because I can speak. And if you're someone who doesn't like public speaking or asking these questions, it can be a little bit difficult. But calling your close friends and family and asking, be like, you know what do you think I'm actually really good at? Like for just in general, where do you think I shine? And it's interesting to hear what other people think because that could give you a different perspective or angle, make you appreciate something about yourself that you might not have even realized, and you had a blind spot too.
And even it also comes back, like, even if you don't like doing something and you're like, oh, I'm not good at that, it doesn't mean that it's something that, like, if it aligns with your dream, you can still practice and become better at it. Because I really don't like public speaking, but it aligned with what my end goal was. So I had to get over that, and I had to practice, and I had to keep pushing myself. And now I'm like, everyone needs to do public speaking.
Yeah, everyone needs to. We'll do our own little Toastmasters, Corona style.
But just because something makes you uncomfortable or if it's hard, it's okay if it doesn't align with your long-term plan, then you never have to do it. But if it aligns and it would really help push you down that path towards where you'd want to be, then I would recommend that everyone try it out. Try out things that make you feel uncomfortable. And you try it once. If you absolutely hate it, then fine, don't do it again. But you never know what you might actually enjoy.
And then the next question is, what skills have you acquired that you have found were more useful than you had anticipated? So this one, again, it's what's nice about what we're doing here is we're actually bringing positive light to different things that we might not think of on a daily basis. So I acquired Excel skills, and those have been very useful in my life in all aspects. And it can be, it's more than I thought. I thought it'd just be for work, but I found I'm terrible at organizing. It's made me a lot more organized as a human being.
I really liked, I took a neuro-linguistic programming course, and recognizing that the thoughts you have are, first you have a thought, then it leads into the emotion, and that emotion triggers the behavior. So if you're stuck in a behavior that keeps happening and you don't know why, and you don't want to go down that route, then you need to back up and say, okay, what was the emotion that started before that behavior? And then back up one step further and say, what was the thought that triggered that emotion? Because if you can change your thoughts, which you always have the choice when a thought pops into your mind, you have about 15 seconds to change that thought before it produces an emotion and a feeling in your body. If you can change the thought right away, that'll change the emotion that you experience, and that'll change the behaviors that happen. And it could be even something as simple as in your relationship. So if you are sitting and going over all the things that your kids or your partner has done that's really made you mad, chances are that's going to lead.
When she said that?
That's going to lead into a very different interaction or behavior versus if you stepped back and said, okay, yes, I recognize that happened, and I don't like that, and we'll communicate to fix that. But here are 5 positive things. Here are 5 really amazing things about my kids. Here are 5 really amazing things about Jordan. When they come into the interaction, the emotions and the behavior is going to be much different. I think that's incredibly powerful. Yes. If you have a negative thought, you have to be able to pick it up, because you have 15 seconds to change it to something different, and that can completely change the trajectory of your day.
There was a study that was done where they actually took people and they made them write gratitude notes to people, like, I'm grateful for it. People who have passed away, people who are alive. And it was something like an instant boost of like 24% in their mood, like across the board.
Yeah, I believe that.
So gratitude is one of the quickest ways to increase your mood. And that's something here that we can do with our skills too about ourselves, because we're often grateful for other people, but it's hard to be grateful for ourselves. And being grateful for your skills and what you've acquired is a pretty quick way to do that.
And we make so many choices each and every day, and how we think and how we choose choices differently can lead down a dramatically different path.
Yeah, I like this one. I learn every day. I always say, if you make a mistake and learn from it, you don't do it again. You're on your way
You're on
to
the right track.
If you don't do it, you make the same mistake over. So you know what's interesting is I have my own coach, and what she tells me is if on your deathbed you look back to your life and you live your life completely the same without changing anything, then you've had a great life. So you don't look at things as mistakes, almost like what you're saying, you learn from them and you move on. It's not like this detrimental thing. They're good lessons. So I like what you're saying. It's very, because if you don't make those mistakes, then life wouldn't be the way it is now. So having gratitude for where you are allows you to realize that your life is sort of imperfect. In a way.
Well, you can choose to see whatever way you want.
Exactly.
So that's everything for today. You guys can go back and write down in those answers. If you missed the roles that we talked about last time, right? We all have roles that we play on our own stage of life, and given what we've learned as a child, how those roles are supposed to be carried out can dramatically influence how we then perceive those roles and how we carry out those roles. This could be, what have you learned about the role of a parent, or the role of a child, or the role of a mom? And last week was all about looking at how we define those roles and allowing yourself to choose if you want to continue to see those roles the way they are, or change them. So go back to number 1 if you miss the childhood influences in the roles, because the great part is we can't change what happened to us in childhood. We can't change our life experiences, but we can recognize in our experience and then change the way we perceive them, right? So if
we can change our response.
We can change our response. And then it helps us to understand why we're behaving a certain way, or why are we triggered that way? Why do we get upset over X, Y, and Z? It's often learned behaviors from what our parents are doing. So I think the parents we have to blame everything on our parents.
I'm blaming Disney more than anyone.
Well, yeah, Disney, and for sure. Yeah, the way that childhood movies especially perceive relationships and what relationships should be like, and you'll find your Prince Charming, you'll live happily ever after, and there's no fight scenes or anything.
They romanticize the beginnings of everything. They don't really ever, there's never a Disney movie where you're like, okay, we're 15 years into a relationship, go. It's always like the start. Like,
right.
And
that's what we see as children, and that's what we expect it should be like. And then when it's not, we feel like it's just us, right? Like there's something wrong with me, which is not the reality at all. So yeah, really interesting topic in terms of childhood influences and roles and conditioning. And then next week, what we're going to move into is all about personality types and how we can use our personality types, and we can use those towards fostering strengths in different areas that we want to pursue.
And when we're going through these things, take a little extra time actually writing them out, because sometimes things are stuck underneath the surface and you need a little bit of time to get them going, especially when you're looking at yourself. But so sit down, maybe if you need a couple times in the week to sit down and fill it out, but I don't rush these answers, because when you feel them and you truly feel them, you can get great benefit out of recognizing those things.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. If you guys have any questions, let us know, and then we'll join next week, 7 o'clock, to figure out your personality types. I already know what you are. My extrovert over here, sharing desserts with everybody and everybody. On airplanes. Yeah, that's probably.
Well, thank you guys. And
bye.
Bye.
Talk soon.